Hello everyone, welcome to today's session of Easy Dharma for the New Normal. Before we begin, I just want to let me just refresh my page to see who has joined us online today. So before we begin, give a little explanation about what we're going to be talking about today. Today, I'm going to be continuing with the topic of Guru devotion, and specifically, I'm going to be continuing on with a brief explanation on the 50 verses of Guru devotion. So let's see who's online. Okay, so the screen is still loading. Okay, so I can see that Kin Ho is online. Good evening to you. Mr. Lam is also here, and David Chu, regular, Pastor David, Sukvan, and a couple of other people, but I can't see who. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining today's session. And yeah, so I'm just going to get into it. Last week I ended on verse 7, and the verses that we were talking about actually, this particular section of the 50 verses actually talks about the qualities of the Guru. And the reason why it talks about the qualities of a Guru is because it is explaining some of the qualities, some of the things that we should actually look for in a Guru before we actually make a guru-disciple relationship. And so the previous verse and the next couple of verses actually talk about that. What kind of qualities that we should look for in a guru. So I see that Sharon Ong is also online, Wai Ying, Calvin Tan, Martin, hello. Parth is also online. Good evening to everyone. Okay, so I'm going to get straight into the verses. So ended last week on verse 7. So today's verse will start on verse 8. A guru should be stable in his actions, cultivated in his speech, wise, patient, and honest. He should neither conceal his shortcomings nor pretend to possess qualities he lacks. He should be an expert in the meanings of the Tantra and its ritual procedures, of medicine and turning back obstacles. He should also have loving compassion and a complete knowledge of the scriptures. So what I'm going to be doing, how I'm going to be explaining this, there are certain parts of the verse that are kind of self-evident, but there are some sections that might need a bit more explanation. So here you can see the on the first line, it's talking about a guru should be stable in his actions. So I wanted to explain a little bit more about what actions it's referring to. Here, the 50 verses are referring to is actually morality. It's actually sila. If you remember back to the 6 perfections, I was talking about morality, and specifically the way that morality is explained within the Buddhist framework is through vows. And so if the guru is a layman, they should be adhering to the refuge vows and the lay vows, and obviously the bodhisattva vows, and if they have tantra, then the tantric vows as well. Similarly, if a guru is an ordained guru, he or she should be living according to the monastic vows. So stable in his actions actually means adhering to the vows that the guru, him or herself, has taken. And cultivated in his speech. So what it means by cultivated in his speech means that the guru shouldn't be one to somebody who talks badly, who slanders, who gossips, who reacts angrily out of a selfish need. Okay. There are certain times when some gurus will manifest wrath, which we have talked about before, but that wrath, as we have seen, is one of actually love and compassion for the disciple to help them probably overcome some sort of negative emotion or negative situation or negative karma that they're currently going through. So that section, that part of it, when a guru manifests wrath, does not fall into this qualification of a guru. When this is talking about cultivated in his speech, it means that the guru is well spoken. The guru can also transmit the Dharma in a way that is loving, is compassionate, is friendly, and speech that the disciple can actually understand and comprehend as well. Now, one thing I'd like to note for the 50 verses is that it's actually a basis, it's a grounding for tantric practice. Now, as we will see in the next coming verses, there are certain negative results of deriding or talking badly about your guru. Now, some people will probably think, why does that happen? Why does it exist? Well, it's all about potential, because if you think about it, if you follow a guru wholeheartedly, if you follow the teachings that the guru shares with you, then it is going to be a very, very quick method in which that you can change your mind and you can actually transform to be a better person. And remember, one of the things that I've been talking about in the last session was about that commitment that you make to your guru, that faith and that devotion that you're supposed to have in your guru, because this is a person who's giving you extremely transformational teachings that can actually lead you out of your suffering and purify your negative karma in the process and generate a lot of merit. So on the other hand, if after you have made this guru-disciple relationship, your devotion and your faith in your guru is supposed to be quite firm, quite steady, and over time, actually, it is supposed to grow and grow and grow. It's not an instantaneous process in the sense that some people, you might think that some people just have perfect guru devotion from the beginning of their relationship with the guru. It's not like that. Everything within Buddhism and within Buddhist practice it's a journey. It is a method, a process, as it were. So over time, you will see that your guru devotion and your faith should grow if you're practicing properly. But sometimes what happens when a person isn't practicing properly, they actually have negative thoughts about their guru, which obviously means that their faith and devotion in their guru isn't as strong as perhaps it should be. And when that happens, because this relationship has such potential for transformation, for enlightenment, it also has, when you think about it, this relationship in the wrong way, when you deride your teacher or you speak wrongly about your teacher, it also has the potential to be to create negative karma, and that's what's explained in the following verses. And there is a reason why it creates negative karma, because the whole point of the guru-disciple relationship is to take you one way. It is to take you towards enlightenment. It is to purify your negative karma and generate merit so you can achieve enlightenment. That potential is there. So therefore, what happens is when you talk negative about your guru or deride your guru, it takes you the other way. And the reason why it takes you the other way, so you're now more prone to the effects of the negative karma that you've built up, is because you are literally going against what is good and what is transformational and what can actually take you out of samsara. So when you go against that, it starts to open up very negative karma. And this is what the next couple of verses actually talk about. So let me just read them out. Okay, there's a little bit before that, but it's good that I explain that first, okay? Before we get into those verses, what I was trying to explain before I got sidetracked was that these 50 verses are actually a grounding for tantric practice. And because within Tantra, devotion to your guru is one of the key components. And so throughout these 50 verses, what it is trying to impart is the ways and the methods in which we can actually train ourselves so that we do have that devotion to the guru. We have that faith in the guru and the teachings of the guru. Especially when it comes to tantric practice. Now, remember this point because when we get to the end of the text, this is also mentioned again. So the next verse, verse number 9, is he should have full expertise in both 10 fields, skill in the drawing of mandalas, full knowledge of how to explain the Tantra, supreme pure faith, and his senses fully under control. I think for most of this verse is quite self-evident for most people, but the one thing in this verse that maybe not be is the 10 fields, or both 10 fields. Actually, there are 2 sets of 10 fields, and these are basically things to do with Tantra. So there is an internal 10 fields and there is an external 10 fields. So an external 10 fields will be things like being able to draw mandalas, being able to do rituals, tantric rituals properly. And the internal 10 fields would be things like being able to know how the procedures of things like giving initiation properly, tantric initiation. So this is not something that I want to go into in too much detail in this session. But if you do want to find out more about anything I've been talking about, there is a long commentary to the 50 verses of Guru Devotion on Rinpoche's blog, and you can go to that if you would like to know more details about anything. But if anything I've been saying so far, if anybody has any questions about it, please do ask and I'll answer it during today's session. So that actually concludes the section of the 50 verses that talks about the qualities that a guru should have. So the kind of question that you get asked is, okay, the 50 verses has listed out all of these qualities, but how do we as individuals know if a guru has those qualities or not? Okay, as a general rule, if you hear of a high lama or a great lama, or you hear people talking about him or her, or you know that other lamas praise a particular lama or guru, or have a close relationship with that person, with their guru, or praise them or give them praise, or talk about them doing a lot of Dharma work. Generally speaking, you can come to the understanding that they do actually have these qualifications. One of the other ways that you can actually check if a lama has these qualifications is to actually talk to the students of the lama, especially the closest students, and understand how the guru goes about doing things, what the guru teaches in everyday, daily ladrang life. Ladrang is the household of the lama. What sort of experiences the students have had with their lama, what the students have learned from those experiences. So examining a guru isn't just about the guru, him or herself. You should also talk to the students of a particular guru and examine the lama in that way. So that's just one thing that I wanted to clarify, because it is a question that comes up when you're talking about the 50 verses. Okay, so let's see who else has joined today. Okay, Munteng has joined. Good evening. Gen Losang Yonten is also online. Ngoi Leng is here. Yo Miao Ki, good evening. So Linman is also online. Waiting, good evening. Kwan Ming. Gillian is also online. And Tata Ong is also online. Good evening to everyone and thank you for joining today's session. So, okay. So the 50 verses, as I was explaining, is split up into certain sections. So the first section actually deals with the qualities of the Lama. So that's something that we have actually finished. That actually ends at verse 9. So coming up from verse 10 onwards, it is actually about the guru. It's about the disciple and how the disciple should act and behave with the guru. Okay? So number 10, having become the disciple of such a protecting guru, should you then despise him with your heart, you will reap continual suffering as if you have disparaged all the Buddhas. Now, this goes back to the point that I was talking about earlier, which is that the guru-disciple relationship has the potential to take you to enlightenment. But if after having made that relationship, you start to disparage your guru or speak badly or think ill of your guru, then you start going the other way, because now you're not making use of this potential anymore, and in fact you're going against this potential that can take you out of your suffering completely. Hence, it starts to open up negative karmas. Okay? And the reason why it is akin to having disparaged all the Buddhas is because within Buddhism, without the guru, which is something that has been talked about in previous sessions, without the guru, it is not very easy to practice the Dharma. You need somebody to be able to show you how to practice the Dharma in a contemporary environment that can lead you to actually understand the teachings and to put them into practice, which is the most important thing. And the guru is the one who shows you how to do this. So we all know within Buddhism, we have the three jewels, the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And we have the fourth jewel, which is the Guru. Now, the fourth jewel is actually the embodiment of the other three jewels. Okay? So this is the reason why it is, because when we disparage, we all know that if we talk badly about the Buddha, or if we destroy Buddha images or destroy Dharma texts and everything, it's very heavy negative karma, and it opens up a lot of negative potential in us. It's actually the same principle when it is your guru, because your guru is the actual embodiment of the three jewels. And this is something that you need to this understanding, this faith, is actually something that you need to build up. And obviously it's not going to happen overnight, but it should be something that we strive to do. And when you do that, the guru-disciple relationship becomes even stronger and even more beneficial, because you actually then start to because you have faith and devotion in your teacher completely. Anything your teacher says or does, instructions he gives, teachings he gives, articles he writes on the blog, video teachings he gives, you actually put that into practice, because you know that it comes from a pure source. You know that it is not something that is going to harm you in any way. It's only going to transform you to become a better person. So this notion continues over the next couple of verses. So I'm just going to read these verses out. Number 11. If you are foolish enough to despise your guru, you will contract contagious diseases and those caused by harmful spirits, and will die a horrible death caused by demons, plagues, or poison. You will be killed by wicked kings of fire, by poisonous snakes, water, witches, or bandits, by harmful spirits or savages, and then be reborn in a hell. Now, these are the two of the verses that are very hard to digest when you are reading the 50 verses or when you're contemplating them. Now, if you actually think about it, most people when they read these two verses, they recoil because it is, oh my God, this will actually happen to me if I don't, if I disparage my guru. So better than that happening, maybe I just don't take a guru. Maybe I just don't have a guru. This is actually a very negative way of thinking, and this actually goes to show just how much ego you have, how much selfishness you have. Because because any instruction that the guru will give you, any teaching that the guru gives, will ultimately help you to better yourself, to become a kinder, more compassionate person. So the guru's objective is actually to, and Pastor David has talked about this before in other sessions, is actually to change your mindset from being selfish and being self-absorbed to focus out, to focus on other people. But if these two verses have such an effect on you, it actually goes to show how much ego you have, how much self-cherishing that you have, that you don't want these things to happen to you, in the sense that now you don't want to practice Guru devotion. However, if you use these verses and think, yes, this will be the karmic repercussion of not following my Guru's instructions or my Guru's teachings, this should actually generate faith in you to be able to follow your Guru's teachings even stronger. And there's a reason for this. And the reason for this is karma. Now, if you remember everything that we've been talking about, karma builds up from multiple and countless previous lifetimes. So actually, if you think about it from a karmic perspective, you do have the potential for all of this that has just been explained in these two verses to actually ripen upon you. And it can and will happen if you don't get a control over your karma, you don't purify your karma, and you don't generate merit to overcome it. On the other hand, if you do follow the guru-disciple relationship, you will be able to overcome these things that have been mentioned because you start to purify your negative karma and generate merit. Okay? So this again is something that has been talked about previously, so I just wanted to mention it in brief. These two verses are not meant to put you off the guru-disciple relationship. These two verses are meant to show you what will happen if you go against the guru-disciple relationship once you have made it, but not in the sense that you're not supposed to take these verses as being negative. In fact, you're supposed to take these verses as a matter of fact, because according to the law of karma, one day it will happen. You're supposed to take this as a motivating factor to actually work on your guru-disciple relationship. Make sure that you don't deride your guru or speak negative or ill about your guru, but instead do the opposite. Speak positively about your guru, develop faith, and all of this can be seen through the guru's actions. If you see that the guru is doing good things, then you know that the guru is a good person. Okay, so when you know that they have embodied the teachings and that they can impart the teachings to you. So you use these two verses as a motivation, but not a negative motivation. In fact, it's supposed to be a positive motivation to increase your guru devotion. Okay. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay, if you do have any questions, please ask. I've seen that Yu Sang and Jerry are online, and Chung as well has joined. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining this session. Before we go any further, because the next section differs okay, wait. Before we go any further, now that we have quite a few people that have joined, I will we are considering to consolidate Easy Dharma for the new normal onto just one day a week. So instead of having 2 days, we will be only having 1 day. So I wanted to ask all of you what your opinions were, if you would like us to keep that once a week session on a Tuesday, or if you would like that on a Wednesday. Okay, so you can leave a comment if you would prefer, telling us which day that you would prefer. So once again, we're thinking of consolidating Easy Dharma for the new normal onto just 1 day a week. And we'd like your opinion if you would like that on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So please just do leave a comment. I'm going to do a bit of a side note because JP asked me to talk about this as well. I see that some of you here online are also joining JP's morning meditation sessions. Now, as part of that, for those of you who have been doing your meditations every day, some of you will actually notice that when you do your meditation, you have certain physical feelings, certain physical sensations in your body. And for some people, this kind of manifests as a particular ache or pain somewhere in the body. Maybe it's the neck, maybe it's the shoulder. I think someone over the weekend mentioned their shoulder. Now, if these physical sensations continue over maybe 2 or 3 weeks, one of the things that you can do to help that go away is actually to engage in a purification practice, namely Vajrasattva or the 35 confessional Buddhas. And there is a reason for this. When you actually engage in single pointed concentration, your energy actually starts moving by itself, and to clear your psychic energy channels. So this isn't something that is done through force. It is something that happens naturally as you calm your mind. But in some cases, due to negative karma, certain blockages can actually occur within your body. Now, when these occur, when you're actually doing your meditation, Rinpoche has said that they cause certain aches or discomfort in a certain part of the body. And the way to overcome that, if these symptoms are long-lasting, means they happen every time you do a meditation session for 2 or 3, 4 weeks, is to engage in purification practices. And that actually helps to purify that karma. And eventually what will happen is when you've done enough of those purification practices and you go back and you sit on your meditation cushion and you engage in your single pointed concentration meditation, you will notice that ache and pain is no longer there. So this is just something that wasn't mentioned by JP, but JP asked me to let all of you know here. So I have seen some questions. Mr. Lam asks, okay, first Calvin said Wednesday is good if it's convenient. Mr. Lam asks, are there any instances where a guru rejects a disciple's request to be his student? What if a person is rejected? What can the person to seek a guru? Okay, very good question. Are there instances in which a guru rejects a student asking for a guru-disciple relationship? And the answer is yes, there is. There have been I myself with Rinpoche have seen some instances where Rinpoche has not accepted a request for a guru-disciple relationship. Now, then the obvious question next is what can a student do then? Okay. Now, in some cases, and actually in all of these cases, it is not that the guru does not want that student. It is that something is not right for that connection, for that relationship to occur. I have seen Rinpoche. One person asked Rinpoche if they could formally take refuge with Rinpoche, and Rinpoche didn't reply to the person. So the person asked again if they could formally take refuge with Rinpoche. Rinpoche replied, not at this time. Then some time later, this particular student became very disheartened and went away. As in was no longer coming for pujas, was no longer attending events, was no longer doing their sadhana. And then that person went through some difficult times and remembered the Dharma that they had learned, and then started to do their daily sadhana again and had some pujas done and came back to practicing the Dharma. And then the person asked again to Rinpoche to take refuge formally. And that time Rinpoche agreed. So Rinpoche explained that the reason why he had rejected the person the first 2 times was because he had a feeling that this person wasn't going to be very committed, wasn't going to be committed to the Dharma, wasn't going to be committed to doing practices every day, wasn't committed to actually transforming their minds to become a better person. This person had just kind of come across Buddhism, had come across Dharma practice, and was doing it as a fad, as something because their friends had introduced them. So this person thought that if they kind of came along, they would be better friends with this person. So that's why originally the person had requested formal refuge to create that student-disciple relationship. And it's the reason why Rinpoche had rejected them the first 2 times. But after the experiences later on that the person went through, and that person actually became quite committed into doing their sadhana every day, to actually practicing mind transformation to become a better person, and was actually, Rinpoche could feel that person's mind had shifted from just being something that they just, wanted to do to like impress their friends, to actually something that they really wanted to do. And in that instant, Rinpoche immediately agreed. Okay, so that's just one instance of why a guru may reject a disciple. So in this instance, it was because the Rinpoche didn't feel that the student was committed enough. In other instances, not that I've seen, but taking that example and going with it logically, the disciple or the student may have certain qualities that may block a particular the guru-disciple relationship. So that person needs to change something about themselves first before that bond can actually be made. So the next question following on from that is what should the disciple do? What should the student do, and what is the kind of thing that they need to change for the guru to accept them to be a student? And it is something that from our side, from the student side, actually takes a self-examination of one's mind, of understanding one's faults, and of applying the remedies to that sufficiently enough. You might not be able to overcome all of it, but whatever negative qualities or negative mind frames that person has can be overcome to an extent where any guru will accept the student. And the methods and the remedies are obviously practice of the Dharma. It's things like practicing compassion. It's things like practicing kindness. It's things like making offerings every day. It's things like abandoning the 10 non-virtuous actions. So it's a very good question that you brought up, and I hope I was able to answer it a little bit. Okay. Both David and Miao Ki say any day is fine, and I see that Hannah has joined. Good evening. Thank you for joining today's session. Okay, so I'm going to continue with verse. I finished with verse 11, did I? Yes. Yeah, okay. So, verse 12 continues on with the karmic repercussions of actually disparaging your guru. You will be killed by wicked kings of fire, by poisonous snakes, water, witches, or bandits, by harmful spiritual savages, and then be reborn in a hell. Okay, so this is actually part of the explanation I gave earlier about going against the potential that the guru-disciple relationship has. And all of these things that have been mentioned, once again, I'm going to reiterate, it is all, they're all possibilities that can open up due to the negative karma that we have stored up from countless previous lifetimes. In fact, we have a lot more negative karma than what is mentioned. So we have a lot more negative karma to undergo, a lot more suffering, more than what has been mentioned. We have that negative potential already. Okay, so if you think that is the things that have been mentioned are negative, one should actually go in and read up more about and learn more about karma, because there is more bigger, more wider potential for a lot more suffering than what has been talked about. Okay, so the next verse, which is verse 13, is from okay, I'll read it out. Never disturb your guru's mind. Should you be fool enough? Sorry, I'm slurring today. Never disturb your guru's mind. Should you be foolish enough to do so, you will surely boil in a hell. Okay, so this is again. It is talking about not being negative within the guru-disciple relationship, but here it is more specific. Okay, here is actually, the previous verses were just about talking negatively about your guru or deriding your guru. This verse actually talks about doing something which directly disturbs the guru's mind. And what does it mean by disturbing the guru's mind? It means basically doing anything that would cause the guru to become unhappy or to go through some form of suffering, whether it is physical or whether it is mental. Okay. Sorry. Just take a drink. Okay. Okay, there's a question by Martin. Pastor Niral, in your opinion, how would one be able to disturb a guru's mind where the guru has already passed into parinirvana? It's also another very good question. Okay. Obviously, all of these verses have many levels in how you can either explain them or apply them into your particular situation. Now, this verse is explicitly implying doing something that would make your teacher unhappy physically or mentally. But obviously, if our guru has passed into parinirvana, what sort of actions would this be? These actions would actually be things like going against their instructions that they had given when they were alive. So if they have given you certain instructions to, I don't know, do particular prayers every day, if they know that you have a particular negative quality, for example, you're an extremely jealous person, they've given you instructions to work on your jealousy, to lessen your jealousy. That would be an example of disturbing your guru's mind, because we must remember that our guru's mind isn't just limited to a physical body. It is also, it's a mind. It's not. And in the case of an enlightened guru, he's an enlightened being, and that's actually how you should think of your guru anyway. According to our path of practice, So even in this case, I mean, even things like what have been mentioned before, talking ill about your guru, making things up about your guru, not following the guru's instructions, not striving to actually make yourself a better person. All of these sorts of things would be covered in, disturbing your teacher's mind, even if the guru is no longer physically with us. Okay? And more than that, it's more than just about yourself, actually, because disturbing your guru's mind is also about creating harmony and having harmony between Dharma brothers and sisters, between people who are practicing the Dharma, between our families, between our friends and our colleagues. Because if you actually think about it, the way the way that you disturb a guru's mind is if you yourself do something negative. If you do something negative, okay, specifically this verse is talking about in relation to the guru, but you can also disturb your guru's mind when you do something negative and it creates a negative situation in your life. That also disturbs the guru's mind. Why? Because that guru has actually taken you on as a student. When the guru has taken you on as a student, the guru actually does genuinely care for you. Okay? And in that sense, when you do something negative for yourself and you create a negative situation around you, perhaps with your dharmas and brothers and sisters, it would disturb the guru's mind. I'll give you an example, okay? Pastor David's sitting behind the camera. So I have an argument with Pastor David, and all of a sudden we no longer like each other, and maybe David gets angry enough that he wants to punch me in the face. Okay, it's an example. It's not going to happen, but it's an example. That would also disturb your teacher's mind. Okay, that would disturb your guru's mind, because here are two of his students who are not harmonious, who are not getting along. Okay, who are not working past, and the ultimate cause of not getting along is because the selfishness was probably involved somewhere, one of the three poisons, ignorance, attachment, and hatred. It's going to be involved somewhere, and those are the things that the guru is trying to help you get out of. So even doing something like that with your Dharma brothers and sisters will disturb your guru's mind. So even in the case where the guru is no longer with us, for example, in our situation, when you create disharmony with your Dharma brothers and sisters, or any situation, any such similar situation, that also disturbs the guru's mind. Okay, Iman asks, hi Pastor Niral, regarding the guru's rejection of the guru-disciple relationship, apart from an express rejection, does the rejection come in a more subtle way, such as non-response or ignorance from the guru? No, not necessarily. And I'll give an example. Some people have asked for refuge and to create a formal bond, a formal relationship with the guru. And in some cases, that person never actually got a response. And there are reasons why the person didn't get a response. One was because Rinpoche was or your guru can be extremely busy at a particular point, so the guru doesn't respond immediately or promptly. Second is that there was no event planned that was where people could formally take refuge. So Rinpoche was waiting for a particular, or the guru would be waiting for a particular event to take place where they would want to bestow refuge, and that people who wanted to take refuge could then, at that point in time, apply formally for refuge. So it doesn't necessarily, if there's no response, or the person or the request is ignored, it doesn't necessarily mean that the guru has rejected the person. It could just mean that they're very busy, or they were waiting for a right time or for a right opportunity. So I hope that answers your question, Iman. Sharon asks, some people think that it is not necessary to make offerings to our Guru once our Guru has passed on. What is your comment on that? There's a very good, Sharon is asked a very good question. And in my response to that, I'm going to read out a verse from the 50 verses. Let me see if I can find it. No. Number 3, verse 3. 3 times each day with supreme faith you must show the respect you have for your teacher who teaches you the tantric path by pressing your palms together, offering a mandala as well as flowers, and prostrating, touching your head to his feet. Okay, this is number 3 of the 50 verses. This doesn't actually talk about if your guru is physically with us, as in alive, or has passed on into parinirvana. Okay, so this verse you should take as literally meaning you need to make offerings to your guru. Okay, and obviously the way that it's phrased, talks about the guru being alive, but it doesn't say that there is no point or no use of making these offerings when the guru has passed on. In fact, it doesn't talk about whether you need to do it physically or visualizing it. You know, you should make offerings every single day to your guru. Okay, so this offering can come in this offering doesn't necessarily have to be a physical offering, but obviously actually the physical offering is the most easiest way of doing it. Another sort of offering that you can offer to your guru is actually transformation of the mind, when you transform your mind to become a better person. Okay, but to have an instance of mind transformation, no matter how small, every single day, as the text on Guru devotion tell you to do, you should make an offering every single day. You might not have an instant in which you can say, yes, I've transformed my mind to become a better person every single day. So in lieu of that, obviously it would also be better to make physical offerings to the Guru every single day. Okay, so that can be things like offering food, it can be offering water, flowers, a mandala, prostrations, and he obviously it's not talking about if the guru is physically around or not. So even if the guru has passed into parinirvana, you should continue making these offerings. And I want to bring up another point. Rinpoche had told me to prostrate. Rinpoche told me you need to prostrate to your guru every single day. So then, because I'm in Ladrang, I started prostrating to Rinpoche every single day. And he got a bit annoyed at that because Rinpoche was extremely humble. So he didn't necessarily like every single day for people to prostrate to him. So what Rinpoche said to me and to a couple of others is, what you should do is you have an altar in your room or wherever you have your altar, you should visualize that your guru is on the altar. Okay? And then you should prostrate to your altar. And that, because you visualize your guru on the altar, okay, when you prostrate to your altar, it becomes prostrating to your guru. So you don't need to physically prostrate to me every single day, even though I've given you instruction to prostrate to your guru every day. You don't have to do it physically to me. Okay? So from that day on, I prostrate to my altar, visualizing that Rinpoche is there. And it has continued, it hasn't stopped. Okay? Well, it's a very good question. So let us continue with a couple of more verses. So I think I've done 13. Okay. Number 14. Whatever fearful hells have been taught, such as Avicii, the hell of uninterrupted pain, it is clearly explained that those who disparage their guru will have to remain there for a very long time. So again, this has it is talking about the negative effects of disparaging a guru. Previous examples would have been, according to the commentary, they're called visible consequences. So these would be things like contracting contagious diseases, being killed by water witches, bandits, things like that. Now, this verse is actually talking about a non-visible or an invisible consequence, and that is that you will be reborn in hell such as Avicii, and you have to remember, be there for a very long time. Now, some of these, you're probably asking, where do these examples of karmic repercussions of disparaging a guru actually come from? And the answer is that they actually come from, these very specific examples actually come from the Havajra Tantra, which is a tantric practice that was very important and is still quite important. So all of these consequences actually come from tantric texts. Now, this is one of the reasons that I was saying that earlier on, that it is the 50 verses is actually preparing you to be able to practice Tantra, because it is introducing you to concepts and ideas about the Guru that if you get into place now, once you get the practice of Tantra, it would be much more easier for you to practice. Okay, so I'm going to do the last verse, which is, therefore, number 15, therefore exert yourself wholeheartedly, never to belittle your tantric master, who makes no display of his great wisdom and virtues. So this one is quite self-evident. It is giving a summary of, it's basically summarizing the previous verses, and it's saying that this is why you should never talk badly about your guru. So I'm going to end it there, because from the next verse onwards, it is a separate section and it talks about what you should do and how you should act and you should behave to make your guru-disciple relationship very strong with your guru. Now remember, I mentioned this in the first sharing I did. The way that I'm going to be explaining Guru devotion is from two aspects. One is an external aspect and one is an internal aspect. So the 50 verses of Guru devotion actually is known as an outer aspect or a physical aspect of the do's and don'ts about the Guru-disciple relationship. Once we finish this text, I will be going into the inner Guru devotion, which is covered more in the Lamrim. So once again, just a gentle reminder, this is the outer aspect. So it is very much to do with conduct. It is to do with behavior. It is to do with physical things that we should or shouldn't do. So just a gentle reminder, if you're wondering why this, it's all about doing things. So I'm going to end it there if we don't have any questions. I don't see any more questions, so I want to, let me just, yeah, no questions. So thank you everyone so far. Just a quick reminder, we are going to be, we are thinking of consolidating these Easy Dharma for the New Normal sessions. Currently it is twice a week. We are thinking of making it just once a week. either on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So please do let us know in the comment section if you would prefer a Wednesday or if you would prefer a Tuesday. So thank you everyone, and good night, and thank you for joining.